first day not waking up and working in a retail store was probably the best feeling I had throughout the journey, because it always goes downhill from there. I've always said you kind of have to be a little crazy to be an entrepreneur because it makes no sense on paper.
Just over 3 years ago, a 22-year-old Armstrong local quit his retail job and sold his car to pursue his entrepreneurial passion of starting his own company. Now founder and former CEO Austin Walper is celebrating Player GG getting purchased and assuming his new role as Chief Strategy Officer with Toronto-based company Trufan.
We weren't competitors by any means, but we were both chasing the same objective and trying to build the same vision. And so we were talking about a partnership. And then once we got through 2020, that conversation just matured into a possible acquisition. And then in record time, we sped through due diligence. And basically within 45 days, the deal was closed.
He says he's still processing the acquisition, which has given him more freedom to do more of what he loves, like skiing. But the day the email came through, he celebrated with his biggest fan, his single mother.
I don't think she still fully understands what my company does, but that has never stopped her from being my biggest cheerleader. And although we were never in the position to have financial support, her coming over and bringing me a home-cooked meal and doing my dishes and cleaning up my apartment, any of that stuff meant more to me than any amount of money that I could have had.
Walper stumbled upon Accelerate Okanagan, which really helped him get connected to the Kelowna tech ecosystem, which has its pros and cons.
The technology ecosystem here is growing very fast, but it's nowhere near the maturity of a Vancouver or San Francisco. And so when you have a shining star in the community, you really stand out. When we showed up to events, there was so many events where we were that shining company. And so we got a lot of attention from the investment community. And that's where we got our first 100K, which turned into 500, which then turned into just almost 2.5 million at the end of the day. On the flip side of that, though, there hits a point where the Kelowna bubble is not big enough to continue growth.
He says the biggest lesson he learned was the importance of knowing his limits after burning out. And after 3 years, he realized his health takes priority over the company.
I think surrounding myself with people who also believe that will be the foundation for my next startup that I will inevitably start, because in those early days, there's so much bravado around this hustle culture and this hustle lifestyle, where people think that the amount of hours you work equates to your productivity. But it's so backwards, because now in this new life that I found of being an executive at a company that I'm not the CEO of, I take so much more care of myself, and I'm actually working less hours but getting more done.
Walper says his direct messages are open on all social media platforms for anybody who wants to reach out for advice. Sarita Patel, Castanet News, Kelowna.